Alrighty then. Here we are, Famaram. I am doing what I do best and hoping that all the rest just kind of falls into place. It's just a very interesting vibe that we exist in and continue to try and create. I had an interview today at 5, which means that I was getting home much later than I like to get home. And I'll be leaving work at that dreadful time when everyone else is leaving work. And it's ironic because traffic here is really nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it is still traffic. So even though I don't live in a big city where traffic can delay me by literal hours, I do experience traffic that delays me by several minutes. And so which is fine, but in context, when I'm used to not being delayed at all or running into minimal delays, it is a bit frustrating to run into any delays at all. But I am very hungry right now, and I don't know why I am so darn hungry, but I could just eat an entire 4-pound brisket right now. That's how hungry I am. It's interesting the kinds of things that I've been experiencing with the advent of all of these. Now that we're in less of a panic state, I can be a little more selective with my interviews. I don't need to freak out and do all this stuff. And so I'm hoping that we can just kind of figure out what needs to be done and get it done. I don't really know what else to say or to do, but we have a commitment to say and to do things. I've made a commitment. I feel like I say and do the same stuff almost every day, though. It's interesting knowing what are the big things in the YouTube animation niche and knowing how to be a part of those things. And hopefully being able to stamp my own thing on it and to make my own and have my own place in the YouTube animation world. It's interesting looking at like the two kings of YouTube animation right now are the Has-Been Hotel and this circus show. I've seen all 3 episodes of it, but I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a pretty big deal as well. And they are all very high quality shows. I am super proud with what I'm making with Compression Man, but they are high enough quality to make me self-conscious about Compression Man. And so, but I do think that Compression Man has a shot in the independent animation world of YouTube. I just need to break out and make myself more present in the comment section of other successful YouTubers and start going to the brass tacks of what people want and like how to promote yourself, and just go from from 0 to 60 here and build it up and get somewhere. And so that is kind of where we are, what we're doing, what we're hoping to accomplish, and hopefully we can work towards a bit better of a situation. And I threw my phone on the floor. Ultimately, I think that Compression Man will succeed. It's too awesome to fail. And like, here we are, episode 4, and it naturally has gotten almost 200 views, and I have done very little to promote it, outside of just let people know that it exists. And the retention that it has is much better than the retention that any of its counterparts have, which I sell the heck out of the counterparts, and they get these terrible retention scores of like 6%. People are only watching the first 20 seconds of a 4-minute video. And it's like, wow, I can't even retain your attention long enough for you to stick to a 4-minute video. That's sad. And I don't know if that's sad on my part or sad on their part. Probably some combination of both. I think a majority of the viewership on YouTube for this kind of content is a younger audience. Like, I think YouTube is kind of ruled by the pre-adults on that platform. I'm talking like 15 to 5. And that's really just like a 10-year age range. Like, are 5-year-olds really intelligent enough to be doing their own things on YouTube? I don't know. 15-year-olds are, but that's when you start kind of aging out of your childish things, if you haven't already by then. Like, there's a lot of things that we enjoy as children that we are promoted to grow out of. Like, people want you to grow out of these things. But there's also a good amount of things that we're promoted as children that we either choose not to grow out of, or we just don't, or we grow out of it slower than most. And so I could very easily see a 15-year-old still being interested in... I could see a 15-year-old still being interested in Compression Man, really. The thing with, like, trying to appeal to people my age is a lot of them have established the things that they like already, and trying to introduce something new to someone who is an adult and has been an adult for a while isn't as easy as we'd like for it to be. And a lot of adults probably aren't looking for something new to get into. Like, they've got their couple of fandoms that they keep up with. They've got their couple of shows that they watch, and they're good. They're not really looking for anything new. And the reality of Compression Man in its current state is, even if someone were to find it and they'd blow through it, they could blow through it in 20 minutes and then just be on their way, which is what has happened to my first major committed fan. Is he found it, he watched all 4 episodes, he left comments on all 4 episodes. I love this dude. I've never met him before, but he's my first committed fan, and he is awesome opossum for it. But now he is caught up, and he'll either notice when episode 5 comes out, or he'll have found something else to latch onto, and then maybe some other time down the road he'll notice when episode 5 comes out and be like, oh, I should watch this. But it's a whole thing, and until you have enough supply to supply the demand, like, people will go find their demand elsewhere. Like, I do not have enough supply to keep him entertained for as long as he'd like to be entertained for. And like to the same end, like binging culture and TV binging in general is like, it kills it, because realistically speaking, even if I had 10 episodes lined up, that's 50 minutes roughly that I would have that person be watching. And it's like, you're 50 minutes in and then you're done. And like 10 episodes takes me 2 years to crank out. Like that's 2 years of production for an afternoon's worth of watch time. And it's wild to understand that. I mean, that's always the case. I don't think there's anything you do where your production is faster or as fast as your consumption. And that has always been like one of my mottos, like production is, or consumption is faster than production. And I found a more clever way of saying it. But like a meal, I can spend all day making an excellent meal and have it consumed within like 15 minutes. And it's like, that's wild. Like, I just spent all day on something that I'm going to get 15 minutes worth of satisfaction on. And like TV shows, and I think about like modern binge culture and the fact that like a show could have 7 seasons. That's 7 years worth of content. And somebody nowadays could just blow through it all in no time at all. And so it's very interesting to know and to understand these things, and to be able to have that perspective, and to know like, hey, I know what it's like to create something for 2 years only for the world to listen to it for 5 minutes and then be done. I think about my audiobooks and those sorts of things, in that like it could be like a 90,000 word book, and I could summarize it in like 5 hours, which is a pretty solid chunk of time for any project. Like, there is not any one single piece of media that someone will sit down and consume for just 5 hours straight. Like, if a TV show, yes, or no, I think TV show or maybe a video game. TV show or video game might be the only thing that can log like a 5-hour commitment. But almost all of those things are breaking up the 5 hours in some way, shape, or form. So like a TV show, one episode is not 5 hours long. Like a long TV show, one episode like 45 minutes to an hour. So in a 5-hour session, you will have consumed 5 episodes of a TV show if it's a longer episodic TV show. In a video game, like in a good video game at least, you should be doing different things throughout the game. And so in a single 5-hour session, you could have done, who knows, at least 5 different things, but hopefully more. And so like that is how they consume your time. But listening to an audiobook, like you could break it up in chapters and say that like each chapter is essentially an episode of a TV show, and like the episodes make up the grander story. But it's still like a lot of people upload their audio files as like a single big chunk, or at least on free platforms. I'm sure they don't do that for like Audible and stuff, but like on free platforms, it's just one big chunk of audio, and you just listen to the thing, and it's a monster of a commitment. And it's interesting to me to know that there are things like books that can occupy someone's time. And I don't know like what audiobook listeners like do they literally listen to a book like from cover to cover, or do they break it up? Because, like, you think about, like, a work shift. Like, my book is 5 hours worth of time. You could listen to my book and start another one in a single work shift. Now, that it seems like a lot to take in while also doing something else, because, like, obviously when you're working, you're doing other things. And so I'm wondering if that really works quite so well. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing to look at, and trying to figure out where we all land and everything, and how everything works out. I've totally drawn a blank as to what I was literally just talking to you all about, so that's a bit of a bust. But I know that I was talking about establishing myself on the animation niche of YouTube, and I do think that eventually that will come to fruition, but I'm very excited about being able to hopefully start seeing some level of success. I'm not for sure that I will continue to advertise through these local markets as I've been advertising. They don't feel as established as I would hope that they are. Maybe just, and like, I saw their newsletter, and their newsletter had like 5 other people on it, and I'm like, guys, like, you have got to get something going here. And it's hard. They're doing the same thing that I'm doing, but like, I'm leaning on them to also do it for me, and it's not easy. Hopefully we can continue to grow and be where we need to be, and I need to be more of a presence in the community. That's a big part of it, is like, I need to be famous in my community so that when people see my work, they're like, oh my gosh, it's that guy, he's doing more work. And all that is all jazzy and fun, but we'll see. There's an almost unlimited audience out there now that the internet is in full swing, which, as I continue to say, doesn't make things easy, but it does make things easier. Like, connecting to millions of people in the past was unheard of. Michael Jackson's Thriller holds the record for the most album sales of all time, and it sold 45 million copies. And there are videos on YouTube that have billions of views. Billions. And so it's like, put that in perspective. Like, the album that has been bought the single most amount of times was bought 45 million times. If you use that as a measuring stick against view count, it's just like nothing compares to it. And like, he has the most popular album of all time, but he does not have the most popular music video of all time. That belongs to, I don't even know who, but not him. And part of it is an unfair measurement because his fame predates the existence of that platform, and the fact that he can even be relevant on that platform speaks miles to the creator that he is, or was, I guess I should say. But it's just a radical experience, and something that I like to be a part of and to experience. And so we'll see what happens. And I thank you for stopping by. I am going to go eat something because, as I already stated, I am very hungry. So thank you and good night.